Rosetta Stone. In July 1799, French soldiers near the Egyptian town of Rashid were strengthening an old fort. They were not searching for ancient Egypt, they were digging foundations. Then Officer Pierre-François Bouchard noticed a dark stone covered in 3 different scripts. It contained a decree issued in 196 BCE, written in hieroglyphs, Demotic, and ancient Greek. Scholars already understood Greek, so they could compare the same message across all 3 writing systems. The stone did not decode hieroglyphs by itself, but it provided the breakthrough researchers had been missing. In 1822, Jean-François Champollion demonstrated how the ancient script worked. For centuries, the language of the pharaohs had been silent. The key that reopened it had been hiding inside a wall. Lascaux Cave. In September 1940, 4 teenage boys discovered a dark opening near Montignac, France. They entered, expecting a tunnel or hidden passage. Instead, their lamps revealed walls covered with horses, bulls, deer, and mysterious symbols painted roughly 17,000 years earlier. Some animals stretched across the natural curves of the rock, making them appear almost alive in the moving light. This was not a collection of primitive sketches. It was one of the greatest galleries of prehistoric art ever found. Visitors rushed into the cave after the war, but their breath, heat, and moisture began damaging the paintings. Lascaux was closed to the public in 1963. 4 teenagers entered a hole in the ground. They found a gallery older than farming, writing, and every city on Earth. Venus de Milo. In April 1820, a farmer on the Greek island of Milos was digging near the ruins of an ancient theater when he uncovered pieces of a marble woman. The fragments formed a larger-than-life statue created during the 2nd century BCE. It probably represented Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love and beauty. The statue was incomplete. Both arms were missing. A marble hand holding an apple was reportedly found nearby, but no one knows exactly how the complete figure originally looked. Within a year, it had been taken to France and placed inside the Louvre. Its missing arms should have made the sculpture less valuable. Instead, they created one of the most recognizable mysteries in art. A farmer uncovered a broken statue. The world turned the missing pieces into immortality. Hoxne Hoard. In 1992, farmer Peter Watling lost a hammer in a field in Suffolk, England. He asked his friend Eric Laws to find it with a metal detector. The detector found something else first: silver spoons, gold jewelry, and thousands of Roman coins. Laws stopped digging and contacted the authorities, allowing archaeologists to excavate the site properly the following day. Beneath the field were 14,780 gold and silver coins, along with roughly 200 pieces of jewelry and tableware. The treasure had been buried during the early 5th century, as Roman control of Britain was collapsing. No one knows who hid it or why they never returned. It became the largest hoard of Roman gold and silver ever found in Britain. And yes, they found the missing hammer too. The hammer was recovered. History was the bonus. Terracotta Army. In March 1974, farmers near Xi'an, China, were digging a well during a drought. First, they struck fragments of fired clay. Then came part of a head. Then a body. Archaeologists arrived and discovered enormous underground pits filled with life-sized soldiers, horses, chariots, and weapons. They had been created for Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unite China, who died in 210 BCE. The figures were arranged like a real army, with different ranks, armor, hairstyles, and facial expressions. Thousands of warriors have since been uncovered, but the emperor's central tomb remains sealed. The farmers wanted enough water to keep their crops alive. Instead, they opened the edge of a burial complex designed to keep an emperor powerful after death. They were looking for a well. They found an afterlife. Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1947, Bedouin shepherds entered a cave near Qumran, beside the Dead Sea. Accounts differ about the missing animal, the thrown stone, and who entered the cave first. What is certain is what they discovered inside: clay jars containing ancient scrolls. That accidental discovery triggered a search across the surrounding cliffs. Over the next decade, thousands of fragments representing around 900 manuscripts were recovered from 11 caves. They dated from the final centuries BCE and the 1st century CE. Some contained the oldest surviving copies of texts later included in the Hebrew Bible. Others recorded prayers, laws, calendars, debates, and the rules of an ancient community. The desert had protected them for roughly 2,000 years. A shepherd entered a cave. Entire lost libraries came back out. Tollund Man. In May 1950, two brothers cutting peat near Silkeborg, Denmark, noticed a human face inside the bog. The skin looked fresh. The eyes were closed. A leather noose was still wrapped around the neck. They immediately contacted the police, convinced they had discovered a recent murder victim. They had not. Scientific testing revealed that the man had died during the early Iron Age, around the 4th century BCE. The cold, acidic, oxygen-poor bog had preserved his face, fingerprints, internal organs, and even traces of his final meal. He had been hanged, but no one knows whether he was executed, sacrificed, or killed for another reason. The peat cutters had not found evidence for a modern investigation. They had opened a murder case more than 2,000 years late. Uluburun Shipwreck. In 1982, a Turkish sponge diver named Mehmet Çakır was searching the seabed near Kaş when he noticed several strange objects. He described them as metal biscuits with ears. Archaeologists recognized them as copper ingots. Beneath them lay a merchant ship that had sunk around 1320 BCE. Its cargo included copper, tin, glass, ivory, ebony, resin, jewelry, weapons, pottery, and luxury objects from across the eastern Mediterranean and beyond. Excavating the wreck required 11 seasons and more than 22,000 dives. What emerged was evidence of a vast Bronze Age trading network connecting distant kingdoms and cultures. The ancient world was far less isolated than it appeared. A sponge diver spotted a pile of metal. What he found was an international trade route at the bottom of the sea. Ötzi the Iceman. In September 1991, German hikers Erika and Helmut Simon noticed a body melting out of the ice high in the Alps. They assumed it belonged to a climber who had died recently. Rescue workers treated it like a modern recovery, and the body was damaged while being removed. Then, experts discovered that the man was approximately 5,300 years old. His clothing, shoes, tools, bow, arrows, and copper axe had frozen beside him. Even his skin still carried dozens of tattoos. Later scans revealed an arrowhead lodged inside his left shoulder, showing that his final hours had probably been violent. A border survey produced one final twist. Ötzi had been found less than 100 meters inside Italy, not Austria. Two hikers thought they had discovered a climbing accident. The glacier had preserved a Copper Age death scene. Antikythera Mechanism. In 1900, bad weather forced a group of Greek sponge divers to shelter beside the island of Antikythera. When one diver entered the water, he discovered a Roman-era shipwreck filled with marble and bronze statues. Salvage began, and among the objects brought to Athens was an ugly, corroded lump. It looked worthless. In 1902, archaeologist Valerio Stais noticed a gear embedded inside it. Later, X-rays revealed a system of interlocking bronze wheels, dials, and inscriptions built during the 2nd century BCE. Turn a handle, and the device could model astronomical cycles, track the sun and moon, and predict eclipses. It is now widely described as the oldest known analog computer. A storm pushed the divers off course. The object they pulled from the sea pushed the history of technology back by more than 1,000 years.